Okay, I'd like to call the POA board meeting for August 17th to order. I'd like to welcome everybody that's joined in person and those that are watching the live stream. Can we have a motion to approve the minutes from our July meeting?
So move.
By John, seconded by Bob. Any discussion? All in favor? 6-0. Rick is absent. I'm going to give an update on the CEO search. We have an offer accepted, and we'll be having an announcement coming out shortly on that. So that's all I have for that one right now. Then the next item is the common doc lease fee policy. Pat?
Thank you very much. I ran across this on the TVPOA website. There's the address down there. And it's dated April 21st, 2004. And before I get started, you know that we have canceled the old dock reserve. We did that in 2021 board meetings. So next slide, please. And I just want to bring up what this says and what I want to do about it. Again, this is April 21st, 2004. It says lease fees for POA common docks will be adjusted per the following items. 1, a reserve fund for replacement of docks will be established and funded based on a 40-year life and the original cost of all docks, which is $2.054 million. That has since gone up considerably. 2, when the POA is in borrowing mode, the interest rate used for the internal loan repayment schedule for docks will be equal to the rate being paid by the POA on the open market. Borrowing mode means anytime the POA has outstanding long-term indebtedness incurred for any purpose. Next, please. If the POA is not in borrowing mode, the rate will be equal to the prime rate. The policy will necessitate an increase of 16.25% in dock fees. The increase will be implemented in 2 equal steps in 2005 and 6. Remember this red because we're going to discuss it a little bit later. Beginning in 2007, lease fees for POA common docks will be adjusted annually per the projected budget increases for dock expenses. All future fees are subject to change due to unforeseen circumstances and or recommendations from ad hoc committees commissioned by the POA Board to evaluate POA fees and assessments. Next, please. This is simply the schedule for the docks. Again, it was May the 4th, 2004. Next, please. Then, this is now getting into presentation. Then these collected fees back then were divided among 2 reserves. First was the dock reserve, which was funded by the fees collected from the lessees. The dock reserve was funded at 10% of the total lease funds collected. The second reserve was a cash reserve funded by the 90% of lease dollar amounts collected. The dock reserve funded at 10% paid the loan and paid for dock maintenance. In effect, property owners leasing dock space from the POA paid for the lease space, maintenance of the docks, interest on the loan category if a new dock was installed, all the while generating a positive net revenue. In other words, property owners leasing docks paid for the slip. Positive net revenue was not allowed to bill due to directing 90% of the lease revenue to the POA, keeping the dock reserve low due to directing only 10% of the positive net income to dock reserves, and in effect forcing slip leaseors to pay interest on a new dock purchase, which would require a lease fee increase. Next, please. The only amenity in Tellico Village that is self-supporting, the only amenity in Tellico Village that requires self-funding of maintenance and expansion of the amenity. Let's go back. Only amenity. No, not you. The only one that's self-supporting. We don't pay subsidies to restaurants anymore either. Why? Because the dock lease fees are payable by January 15th of the current year in order to renew the lease, providing hundreds of thousands of dollars to operating cash for the POA during the first month of the year. Final, note the year 2004. This was 3 years before the housing market recession, 14 years before the housing market boom. The dock reserve funding was eliminated in 2020 and 2021. And the common dock lease fee policy still exists. Next, please. I then go to the financial statements that were presented to us each month in the board, and Jessica's going to give an update on this. This is from June the 30th. All dock revenue was $296,000 through June 30th. Townhouse dock revenue was $51,000. Gas revenue was $213,000. RV storage was $25,000. Total revenue was $585,000. The reason I'm putting this up because the dock and the revenue are not broken out on the monthly form, the reports that we get. So then I calculated the 585, 560, and dock percent revenue is 95.73. So if you take 95.73, I thought, well, just in fairness to show a good comparison, I'm going to take 95.73 of the expenses as well. So from the audited financial reports in the bottom left, this is the revenue and expenses for RV and dock. You take that to the upper right, 16 through 21 year, the revenue, the expenses, you subtract them and you show the net. All right, next please. From that last group, I then put that into this format, which shows the difference in every year, starting out at 68,872 positive to 136 to 150 to 212 to 294 to 251. Whoa, 251 went down. Why? Well, we put a wave attenuator and a new dock in the same year, almost $500,000. The difference between the revenues and expenses is the next column down, which shows going up every year, except for 21, which I just explained. Revenue differences from the prior year shows a positive. The expense difference shows, in most cases, or 3 of the 5, a negative, with 2018 and 2021 being positive, again with the $500,000 in wave attenuator and new dock, and the difference between prior year. Next, please. Okay, so I've never been able to understand why there's been such a hard push for not adding additional docks and yearly push so hard for a percentage increase in dock lease fees. I would hope that the well-being of Tellico Village cash flow was a primary reason, which is what it was. Recall that the dock reserve was eliminated in 2021 budget cycle, with lease fees being directed to the amenity and R&R repair and renovate reserves. Recall from the last 2 years' budget meetings that a continued effort was made to explain that the positive net income on the audited statement is inaccurate because all costs have not been assigned to the docks. And finally, recall before this effort is made this year, which we're going to go into budget cycle real soon, is that I personally asked for the budget year 2021 and asked 3 times for the budget year 2022 that the board be shown these costs that have not been assigned, and to date that information has not been provided. Next, please. So there are 11 board members that I've personally served with over the last 5 years. Those listed board members have never proposed any amenity in Tellico Village to make improvements or cover expenses by borrowing funds from the POA. To have a policy stating such, particularly when the amenity generates a yearly positive net income, is wrong. You have seen that even though Tellico Village has added additional docks, wave attenuator, additional PC floats, replaced PC floats, perform maintenance items such as cable replacements, float replacements, anchor replacements, diver inspections, anchor adjustments, and parking lot expansion and repaving, along with adding security cameras, dock fire extinguishers, and recommending more equitable distribution of fueling prices, which in effect we were giving an extraordinarily low. The marina amenity remains self-supporting and continues to generate a positive net income. Next, please. In effect, the common dock lease fee policy is stating that property owners leasing slips from the POA must borrow money at a prescribed interest rate from the positive net income generated by the lease fee paid to lease slips. An example, save your excess money in the bank to buy your car. Withdraw your money from the bank to buy the car, then pay the bank a prescribed interest rate to use your own money. Motion, this is what I'm asking. Delete the common dock lease fee policy dated April 21, 2004. Or should all amenities, whether self-supporting or not, be required to borrow money from the POA in order to fund improvements, renovations, repairs, and expansions? Next, please. Remember I said it red? Beginning 2007, lease fees for POA common docks will be adjusted annually per the projected budget increases for dock expenses. Note that this statement does not specify annual adjustments made up or down. If you follow that policy to the letter, following the logic of the policy, the annual slip fee based on the positive net income generated would reduce the slip fees by $30.79 a month. My motion stands to eliminate this policy, not change a thing, not go up or down the fee, but to take this off the books because it's now a standing policy. It does no longer apply. That's the motion.
Is there a second? Okay, second by Bob. Any discussion?
Yeah, the only point I would make is this is spot on. It's a policy that doesn't affect anything. It needs to be eliminated. But in the financials, whenever we look at it, we should be looking at cash flow. So capital expenditures should be coming out of there as well. But the numbers stand. It's positive cash. It's just not as great as it looks from my net income. But yeah, I fully support this.
Any other comments? Any comments or questions from anybody, any of the residents? Come to the mic, please.
Make sure it's turned on. Should be a red light or a green light on top.
Okay, Kevin Kelly, I have a boat, I don't have a slip here yet. The reduction in fee, would that be part of the proposal you're having,
Nope.
that the fees would be
Nope,
adjusted?
it's just to eliminate the policy,
Okay, so why wouldn't you adjust the fee if we have a
because
positive?
that's
net
coming
flow?
up in the budget season.
That'd be something to discuss in the future.
Yep,
Okay, thank you.
yep.
Okay, I think we're ready to call for a vote. All in favor of eliminating this policy, raise your right hand. I think that's 6-0. Thank you.
No problem. Comes off the website, right? Good deal.
Yes. Okay, Pat, you're still up. Current
Still
boat
up,
slip
okay.
agreement.
Not that one. Yeah, I can probably go through let me get out of order here because I'm going to cover two in a row anyway, and the
Okay.
way they're set up on this slide. Last month, I gave a presentation, and the presentation was use of unavailable space on existing Teleco Village docks and move-in dock. They were separate, but I'm including them in the same because the board asked me to go get some information, come back, and that's what this is about. And for the audience that is watching and here today, what we talked about, I'm just going to give a brief update. We talked, the MAC, Marina Advisory Committee, audited all docks for unused space. Soundings were taken to determine the winter pool levels and what would the available space and water depth reasonably allow for boat slips, PWC platforms, and kayak launch platforms. Next. That's a nice sound. Well, here, while she's working on that, I can just read it because it's from, So, the MAC proposal was 6 new boat slips on the Tenasseee QR dock walkway, 30 PWC slips, now these are all in unused spaces, 8 at Tenasseee P dock, 8 on Tenasseee QR dock walkway, 1 each at the Yacht Club D&E docks, and 6 on the Tugaloo A and B docks. Possible PWC slips at Kahiti, which they didn't look at because the dock was not yet installed. I'm going to skip the kayak launch platform. That will be in the budget for next year. If you remember, and you go back and look at last month's presentation, I showed this where it's going to be and how it's, and I know you can't read it, but it's on last month's if you want to go see. The 3 fingers that would be added, the PWC slips, moving a gate, etc. And the revenue generated was $8,166 annually from adding these slips to use available asset space. And I think Clayton's in there. You had the number for this? Because that's what the board asked for. Yes, sir. And that number was?
the number to add
That's
all,
One
to add
more.
all those areas that Mike had asked us to look at was, $72,400.
This is for adding the PWC slips and the fingers and all that.
Yes.
72,000.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And $400.
Okay.
That's to move that gate
Right.
and move all those
All right.
things.
For that amount, and talking to the MAC, Marine Advisory Committee, this Monday, I'm going to withdraw and put this for the 2023 budget. All right?
The moving of the end dock?
No, this is adding the PWCs and the additional
I'm sorry.
spaces,
Okay,
right? Yeah.
yeah.
So I got them in reverse order, Marty, I apologize. But this is too much money to be taken out of unbudgeted amounts to do this year. There's also a couple of questions that Clayton and his folks brought up. The issue of adding slips to an approved TVA dock. They gave us a length and a number, and we need to verify that it's okay to put these 3 additional in. So, withdrawn. Okay? Next. Next. Next.
Before you do it,
Right there, okay.
Clayton, what you're saying is 72,004 to do this project and to move end up.
No,
No,
we're
no,
not
Ian.
to NDOC yet.
So just 72,4 to do the modifications, to do this.
Yes, sir. And if we do it next year, if we do a boat dock, instead of boat slips, it will be cheaper next year, because they'll be coming, same company would be building the fingers and stuff. So-
Right, mobilization charge would be one
Yes,
time.
yes, sir.
Okay,
Exactly. Okay? Next, and then next. You dead again? And unfortunately, this one, I am going to need a picture up there to review with everybody, so we're going to have to wait a minute.
Do you want me to go ahead and do the end dock?
Yeah, that's what we're going to do here.
Okay.
And I can visually explain, we can catch up with the pictures in just a minute. If you're familiar with NDOC, it is the outer dock, the real long one with the bend in it at Tanasi Basin. It's out by the silos. The issue comes up there, it's a twofold issue. One is that there's a group of property owners on the south side of that dock, right across from NDOC, and there's, on this picture, you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 houses. Those people get out there and swim in the afternoons. And boaters come in, I almost used a term, but I'm going to back off of that. Some that are not as experienced as others come in past the silos, full speed, drive down to the current end dock before they even slow down at the no-wake zone. So once they come to the no-wake zone, they're actually in violation because you need to be, according to the TWRA rules, at no wake 300 feet or 100 yards prior to getting to the no-wake sign. They're going by these property owners swimming at a very high rate of speed, and a lot of times all you can see is their head above the water. Second thing, so we're asking that the no-wake sign be moved out to the point of property on the south side and the north side behind the cemetery, direct line across. We're getting there. There you go, right there. So it shows main channel. The yellow line shows the main channel. The no-wake buoy will be moved out. You can see the 3 silos there where the swimmers are. Now let's go to the next one. In doing this, what we're asking for, as I put in where PDOC is now, it's currently there. When we put in ODOC, it takes the place of NDOC, and NDOC gets moved out, and it would be a good idea to put ODOC out where the NDOC will be moved, except the NDOC has got a wave attenuator attached to its length, which means you have to move in to keep the wake out of the Tanasi Harbor Basin. So the idea is to move in dock this year, giving us time to put in ODOC next year, because as we've discussed, the bid process that we have goes out in January, February. We then get on these dock installers list. They normally cannot put them in for the last 2 years at least until August, September, July, August, and then in September we start leasing the spaces, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we're paying and then losing revenue for 8 months on these docks that we put in. So this can be done in one motion this year to get ahead of the heavy prep work that's going to be required next year that could potentially reduce us not getting a dock that we pay for until 2024 if we can't mobilize the resources with people and schedules and materials to move NDOC next year prior to putting in ODOC. So what I asked Clayton to do was to come up with a dollar amount, which the board asked for, and he is now prepared to give that amount.
Yes, and when that was all added up, that was $27,220.
So that one, I still ask for. This is $27,000 to move that dock out, to move the no wake signs out, helping our property owners with the swimming, enjoying their water, preparing to install ODOC next year. And that would include NDOC moval, would include a walkway to NDOC, because people still got to use the docks. It would also include the concrete pads that anchor it to the shoreline and physically moving the dock. Was there anything else in there?
Electric and water is
Electric,
included
water,
in that,
yeah.
yes, sir.
Right. Okay, so my motion still stands to ask the board for approval to spend the $27,000 of unbudgeted money to move NDOC this year, if we can do it. Get it scheduled.
Do we have a second? Okay, it's been moved in second to move NDOC this year with unbudgeted funds. Any further discussion?
I have a question.
Steve did. Oh, John.
Steve, you wanna go
John
first?
did.
My question is, I have no problem with moving the NDOC, but I think looking forward, you first have to decide there's not enough parking down there to add the ODOC, put the NDOC out there without causing a lot of congestion in that area. Now, it says future parking up there. I would like to know what arrangements have been made with TVA or anybody, because we need that parking. And if you don't have the parking, it becomes a real congestion problem.
At this time, we wouldn't do the parking. It wasn't included in this. And the reason why is I've had our IT director, Kevin, to evaluate parking during the 4th of July and during Memorial Day. And the greatest number of spaces that was taken up was 29 on those two holidays, which there's 43 parking spots there. Well, Mac, at the Marine Advisory Committee meeting Monday, it was brought to my attention that a couple of people went down there, and several times on Sunday, there was no parking. So Kevin done an evaluation with our cameras to see what the parking situation was. The highest point throughout the entire day was 30. So there was 13 vacant spots. And then that was for 2 hours, and then they started decreasing and people started to leave. And with this move, we'll create like 7 additional spots by moving this dock.
I understand that. What about approval for that parking lot that you're going to put out there?
We're not gonna put that parking lot up there. You know, our parking lot, we're gonna have some additional parking where NDOC is presently located, and then beside where you come off the cul-de-sac down into the parking lot, we're gonna put some parallel parking in there. So we'll gain an additional 7 parking spots. So if they were there last Sunday, there would have been 20 available parking spots.
Okay, I understand that. You're going to add how many spaces on ODOC?
Oh, there'll be 32.
You're going to add 32.
Yep.
I don't believe that adding 7 parking spaces is going to give enough parking for 32 or 34 more spaces.
And that was the same discussion that we had when we added PDOC, that we would not have, and then when we talked to the neighborhood people that live there, came over to the Marine Advisory Committee. They did a count of the number of boats, the number of parking spots, did a 1 per number, projected that we would never fill up the parking lot, which we never did. The highest that I've ever seen was this last weekend where I talked to Clayton, because I did go down there with my wife to ride on the boat, and we did have to park in the grass. But as he said, there were additional parking spots that could have been taken. We just wanted to park a little closer. So the line spots were taken. You follow? So, agree. But when you go do the analysis, you find that the 1 per number justifies the number of parking that we have, plus adding an ODOC.
You haven't convinced me.
Well, part of the issue starting 2 years ago was the Townhouse Association on both sides. I don't have this. The one that's down here on the bottom and the one that is beside the parking lot there. Both of them came to the Marine Advisory Committee complaining and giving a great concern of boaters parking their cars in front of their houses. The Marine Advisory Committee took that, worked with them, came up with a plan for these docks, and now every holiday a letter is sent to the dock captains to be distributed that says, in effect, your holiday is about to be ruined because you're going to go down to this parking lot and you're going to find that your children and grandchildren aren't going to be able to get on their boat because there's not going to be ample parking. Plan on going to Clear Creek or Poplar Springs, drop the captain and a kid off or whoever, and transport the boat over there to a different parking lot. And so far, it's worked out perfectly. We haven't had 100% capacity in that parking lot for the last 2 years.
There were some spaces added after that discussion with the property owners in that area. You're not only going to add ODOC, you're going to add more personal watercraft docks, you're going to add maybe some kayaks, things. I think that's more than just adding the ODOC.
Point made.
So are you saying that, even though it says future parking there, that that's not in the plan anymore? Up at the top by the
It could
cemetery?
possibly not be. Again, he's working with TVA, the 820 line. It is our property that we got in the Cooper land deal.
Right.
But now it's how much of that is technically usable.
Yeah, it doesn't appear to be, but it is really steep in there, so that would be a lot of excavating costs and stuff. When we review footage of that parking lot, right now, we're comfortable with the amount of parking when we add those 7 or 8 spots.
And again, let's issue a thanks to the original developers for selling that high-dollar lakefront property and not allowing current Telego villagers to expand any facility that we have. Landlocked us all.
Well, I still say that adding 7 parking spaces for 34 plus personal watercraft things is not acceptable. I don't think that's a good plan. If you can add some more spaces down there, more than 7, maybe it would be, but I think you're going to impact the area. Long term, it's not going to happen for a year, but when you get everything down there, you're going to be short of parking spaces.
You're not agreeing with that, Clayton?
You know, the odds of 50 people being down there at one time, what's the odds? You know, if it was gonna happen, you'd think it would've happened on 4th of July, Memorial Day, you'd have thought that would've happened. But, you know, I think that, I should've brought that with and should've printed off. I think the high peak was 29 during the 4th of July, and Kevin broke that down hourly. And when it got to 29, the next hour, it started decreasing the numbers.
So at least for now, I mean, it's not gonna be an issue for moving NDOC, but it could become one when we add ODOC.
That's
So-
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Let's plan ahead. Let's not just think that 7 parking spaces, when you're adding maybe 50 more people down there, or 50 more cars, because people have personal watercraft spots that you've added, plus the 34 slips.
So do you have a proposal, John?
Well, I just think that we need to plan a little bit more. I don't have a problem with moving NDOC.
Well-
If you look at what the possibility will be 2 years from now, and you haven't planned for it, and you don't have any more parking spaces, and you've got 7 parking spaces, I can't vote for it the way it is.
Well, then the question comes down to, if we don't put ODOC in, it's 36 slips, not 32, because we utilize, okay. So if you don't put ODOC in, there is no reason to move NDOC. That's excess expense. So if you
That's
don't put
correct.
ODOC in, your current boat wait list remains at 180 and climbing, and you're not going to put any more in Loudoun County. That's it. So right now, we plan for the future next dock, or you say, I'm not going to spend the 27,000, which means that you're not going to put in an old dock. It won't come up in the budget discussion because you can't put it in Loudoun County.
Come
That
up
is-
with another proposal for some more parking spots,
Where?
then add more than 7.
Well, this is the issue that I talked about. Thank you to CCI for landlocking, because down here in the bottom left, that's where the parking was. And up here, across from that, where those 2 townhouses are, that's where the parking was, but they got sold for premium lots. They effectively landlocked the future of Tellico Village expansion, which means I am not for moving NDOC if we're not going to put ODOC in. Don't spend the money. But you then have 180 people growing on a wait list, and we have authority from the TVA to put ODOC in. We can exercise it next year in the budget if we pass that, but if you don't want to, don't. But don't vote for moving NDOC if we're not going to put ODOC in. It's a waste.
But what I'm hearing, just to summarize, I'm hearing you and the Marina Advisory Committee, along with Clayton, think that we will have ample parking for ODOC as well.
That has been the demonstrated results of parking studies all of this year, yes.
You're looking at studies from this year, you're not looking at the future.
I can't.
How can you can't do that.
I,
You can't predict that.
no.
Well, I mean, you're basing the anticipated utilization based on your current utilization.
You can't do that. You got to base it on your
Well,
future
you can do-
utilization.
You can
I'm
do
talking
like
about,
the
I'm talking about you're
Marine
basing your future on current.
Right,
So,
exactly.
so it sounds to me like, I mean, I'm not trying to take sides here, but it sounds like there is ample parking, there expect to be ample parking for ODOC.
The one per number that the Marine Advisory Committee developed this year shows that it is. The follow-up numbers that he's reporting shows that it is. But,
For the peak that we've had this year, which at 30, it's been 30 for 2 hours. So that means we had 13 vacant ones, plus 7, that would be 20 vacant ones that we would have had Sunday if we would have had those 7 new ones in there, so.
So that area, the area below the current parking lot, between there and the townhomes, is that going to be townhomes, or is that just empty.
This isn't current, that's not a current,
Okay.
view right
Yeah,
there.
the town, where you see the parking lot and you see the sidewalk walking down,
Yes.
there's a townhouse in there and another townhouse
All
in
right,
there.
so it's filled in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, just for clarification, the docks that go below P, which must be M,
No,
going
it's
towards,
QR,
going to
QRST.
Tenasseee,
Yeah, QRST, yeah.
some of those people park in the Tenasseee parking lot, or do they park here?
No, they park there.
So the question I have is, how many total slots are there, and you only had a maximum of 30 people in there? Is that 100 slots,
Well, I don't-
slips?
I don't know how many's in there.
So you got a ratio.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They did
Yeah,
a-
so
they did
if
a
you
one
take
per-
that same ratio and apply it to your new ODOC,
That's what I said. The one per number is calculated all this year based on the holiday peak. And it was determined that that one per number, cars per boat, gave us adequate parking.
Right.
We then got Kevin Alfont to go do the video recording.
you had a maximum of
Sent
30.
it to him. He counted it. We had a maximum of 30. The one per number is well within the limits, even adding ODOC.
How many parking spaces do you have down there now?
43?
Yes, sir.
Just so I'm clear, Pat, you're talking about not building a new end dock, you're talking about moving the existing end dock.
Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
As someone who has a boat currently docked at end dock, like I think you do.
Yeah.
What happens to our boats during this move?
A couple of things are going to happen. One is my understanding from Clayton, and you can expound on this. They will call as many of us that will come down and move your boat. We'll put them at the yacht club or wherever we're designated to put them. There will be some people that can't, and the people say that they can still move. And the way they're going to do it is they're going to float the anchors on one side, extend the cable on the other, and frog walk it out one step at a time.
Okay. And I'll make one further comment. I had a boat there for 12 years. We've been there in busy times, non-busy times, all times. The only time I had a parking problem was when there was the eclipse 4 years ago. and everybody on their boats to see
Yeah.
the eclipse. Other than that, never an issue.
Yeah, and heaven help you if you were on Tellico Parkway that day.
There's a couple of statements online
Okay.
and some questions. This is from Karen Tudor. She says TWRA rule applied to commercial docks only, not Tenasseee. I personally validated with TWRA. I'm not sure exactly what that reference is, but. The dock reserve currently exceeds 27,200 ? There isn't a reserve
There is
for
no
docks.
dock
Okay.
reserve.
Right, it's operating cash. TVA should approve the parking, et cetera, before moving in dock. Please don't put the cart before the horse. Due diligence and get TVA approval for parking area before moving in dock. This is still Karen. Please don't rely or shouldn't happen. Get proper approvals. Plan more. Thank you, John. Get all cost. You shouldn't move in dock unless all the rest is approved by TVA and there can be sufficient parking, future parking.
Well, actually, TVA has approved the docks, the position of the docks. The issue that John's bringing up has to do with the parking. What the Marine Advisory Committee says, and their one per number Steve was talking about, the audited with the cameras that he was talking about, the continual auditing with the cameras, the communication with the dock captains to the lessees of those docks, of coming up with an alternate way on heavy, busy holidays to not show up down there with 3 cars, but with 1 car or no cars, which is what Alice and I do with our grandkids. It has worked. And again, to the board, vote how you wish, but please don't vote to move NDOC without seriously considering putting ODOC in, because that is a $27,000 throwaway. There's no reason to move NDOC if you're not going to put ODOC in.
All right, a couple more, Marty.
And ODOC will be a 23 item,
Yes, absolutely.
yes.
Yeah.
And to confirm, the balance sheet shows for rounding $1 in the dock reserve fund. It's basically zero.
Right.
And
All
if,
right. David Johnson said Saturday there was no parking spots when he came to take his boat out. I'm on Q Dock. We need more parking. And then Harry Rucker, part of Pat's argument was swimmers. If there's no O dock, do they still matter?
Yes, because now you've moved the no wake zone out past NDOC that joins, as you see from this diagram, the point of the north cemetery point to the south. I think it's Tanasi. So that line will have no wake buoys in it. That puts them over 100 yards from the swimmers.
So TVA is responsible for that, right?
Yeah, and we checked with TWRA, and they don't have an issue with us moving that to there, as long as it's not in the main channel.
Couldn't they move that regardless?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
but again, what Steve talked about, the last time we had that one moved because it broke was 20 grand.
yeah, it was crazy, the price was. And if the board does, approve moving NDOC, we will be following the TVA master plan, dock master plan. So it would be going where TVA approved it to start with, so.
We have a comment here.
Yeah. Roger Forsyth, I'm with your Long Range Planning Committee. You are doing the right thing, in my opinion, as a quality engineer. You're assessing the number of, where's the breaking point where you overflow and you don't have it. You can simulate, use the same data you have as the as-is, and then you can simulate adding more and more people or cars to it and find where your break point is. But I agree that you don't have to build based on the demand for the actual parking spaces. You're doing the right thing. I think that you just got to get past the idea I have to build. You don't necessarily have to build if you understand the supply and demand and the timing of it. But you can simulate a point where no matter what you do, you run out of spaces. And that's just a process.
Well, and that gives me a segue, which we discussed this morning. And I want everybody in Tellico Village to understand this. We have a wait list now of 180 people. They've got their boats either on purchase and stored at a dealer or paying to have it done. It's 180 people that are wanting to get on that 36 slip. We got one going in Kahiti. So that Kahiti takes 36 out of 180. Now we're down to 140 something, right? You put this one in 36, now you're down to 100. What the property owners in Tellico Village need to understand is we always must have a waiting list. Exactly what you're talking about. If we build to eliminate that waiting list, one person leaves, you're not generating revenue. We're turning over 50 to 60 slip leases a year from people that don't want to boat anymore. We can't afford to have 50 unleased slips. Now you're not a self-supporting amenity anymore. Now you're a drain. So and I'm putting this out to everybody. Oh my, the phone calls I'm going to get tonight. But that's okay, because you've always got to have a waiting list.
It's the same thing supermarkets do. They calculate how many people in line will be the breaking point when they say, another register, please.
Right.
So it's just a method of quantifying what you're doing. I think you're doing the right thing.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, call for a vote. All in favor of moving NDOC with the caveat is if we're going to do that, then we're also going to want to approve.
Consider in the budget next
Yeah,
year.
consider,
Yeah.
if you're going to do it, it needs to be because we're going to move ODOC as well. So
For $27,200.
for $27,200, and we're only talking about approving the movement of NDOC right now, but just with that understanding.
Right.
All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? 5-1. Thank you.
Am I done for the day? Man, me too. Me too. Thank you for the cheers. Yeah, thank you. Who said I could go? Thank you, Steve.
So you had two items, you handled both of those there? Is that what you're saying? The current boat slip agreement
Yeah,
and
the
the in-dock
MHC
move?
audit's done, the boat slip agreement's done, and move-in dock is now done. Now we're into long-range planning.
We haven't done the new common dock site lease agreement.
Oh, yeah, that'll go to him. Yeah, okay, so we talked, and let me give you a little segue into this. Because I got corrected last month, and everybody that's got a boat in Tellico Village, whether it's a PWC, a kayak, a boat, a big boat, a little boat, if you lease a slip, you have a signed lease agreement with Tellico Village. And it's a big old thing. It looks like this. It's lots of pages. And on the end, it's got an appendix there. And the Marine Advisory Committee, reading next door and Facebook, gets very aware of people pointing out derelict boats, boats that are nasty, boats that are filthy, that kind of thing. So they perform an audit at least once a year to go down and check registration numbers, the number's correct, the date is correct, there's no mold or very little mold. I mean, that's a matter of taste, how well you want to clean up your boat. So then they get back with those boat owners and ask them to clean them up, or you must, and they find that this is a lot of the case. A lot of the people will renew their registration number, but they won't go put it on because they don't use the boat. So it'll sit there with a 21 number on it, but they've got a 23 registration in hand. We're asking them to go down and put those on. In the meantime, last year, 2021, starting January 1st, you have until January 15th to go pay your lease, renew your lease. It's an automatic renewal. As of January 15th, we had over 100 Tellico villagers that did not pay their lease. By May the 1st, April the 1st, it had been reduced to 42 outstanding and not paid for 4 months. Letters were sent out, big issue. Marine Advisory Committee gets involved. Phone calls were made. Why aren't you paying? Just friends, contacts. I go to Florida during the winter. I do this. So I don't pay this. Well, here's what the findings came down to. I'm not renewing my lease, but I'm going to pay my loud and utility bill, my phone bill, my cell net bill. I'm going to pay my taxes. I'm going to do all this, but I don't have to pay this because I don't have any consequences. What God is thinking about this is I forgot to pay my volunteer storage lease agreement. I get a letter in the mail that says you've got X number of days to either come get it or we're taking it over. And I thought, boy, what a great idea. So we go back to the Marine Advisory Committee, and they make this suggestion, and unfortunately, we didn't go through the full lease to read it because what we suggested was a series of events. The Marine Advisory Committee is not going to put a dollar amount for a fee, but it's already in here in the lease agreement, and there is a clause, appendix, that we've already written up in the lease agreement that allows us, for lack of a better term, to impound the boat, and under state law, if you don't pay, we can take that boat, have it re-registered to Tellico Village, and either give it away or sell it. That's harsh. Now, do you think that somebody's going to get a letter in Tellico Village to say, you haven't paid me for 30 days, I've invoked state impound proceedings, and I'm going to sell your boat at 120 days? They're going to come pay, aren't they? Yeah, buddy. We just need some teeth in this, but the teeth are already there, and that's what I wanted him to review.
Sure, absolutely. The existing lease, which was updated, I believe a year or two ago, has always given the POA a security interest in the boat. That's something that's granted and signed for in the lease, and it expressly permits in Section 3 for the POA to move the boat, store the boat at the owner's expense, and ultimately sell in a commercially reasonable manner. So that mechanism was already in place under the existing lease. However, we felt that given that we're wanting to change the collection timeline, we need to also update the collection enforcement timeline appendix, which is within the lease itself. So now we're clarifying exactly what the timing will be. The board has previously approved this timing, and essentially, upon delinquency after January, at 15 days past due, you'll receive a first demand letter noting that the amount remains unpaid and that POA will seek collection if it is not timely paid. Then 15 days later, when the amount is 30 days past due, a second collection letter will go out. And if that is not successful, the POA can exercise its lien enforcement rights 45 days past due. Its lien enforcement rights again allow it to move the boat, store the boat at the owner's expense, and sell in a commercially reasonable manner. To the extent that the POA doesn't recoup all its expenses in that collection and sale process, including attorney's fees, it has the right to file a lawsuit after 90 days to collect any remaining amounts due and unpaid through the collection process. So again, this isn't a change in the lease. These rights were always in the lease in the latest edition, but it is just changing the enforcement timeline and making it clear that all lessees will understand and agree to this timeline.
Now, the plan from here is that we're thinking, again, recommendation from the Marine Advisory Committee, sometime in November, we have an update of this at a board meeting, telegram, December, update, telegram, and send out a telegram first Tuesday of January as an update, give them at least 3 reminders that this will be invoked. Okay? Just an update.
Good, good. Yeah, with the waiting list the way it is, we shouldn't be having to battle people to pay their lease agreements. Okay, very good. Let's move on to long-range planning advisory.
Whoops.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Joe Bogardus. Pat and Kevin, will this timeline also be enforced for the kayak storage and launch facility?
Sure. Yes,
Or they sign the same
all
lease?
of them, they're all the same
Yeah.
lease. Yeah.
Okay.
Including personal watercrafts.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Just for information purposes, it was 2020, it wasn't 21, was it? We had a leasee that did not pay by January 15th. This process was gone through, and and this is what generated the new lease. This person did not pay for an entire year. A whole year. And then by the time the year was over, they did pay. They paid all fees, paid attorney fees, paid everything, paid a lot of money to get their boat to stay in the same spot. You know, and that's what generated the new lease.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay, so actually Ed Grolleman, who is the lead for LRPAC, will be presenting the review. LRPAC is Long Range Planning Committee.
Yeah.
Advisory Committee.
Advisory Committee.
And why is advisory important is because this committee reports directly to the board.
Next slide, please. So what we're going to report on is our 20 to 22 goals, give you a snapshot on that. And we're going to review them and the status. And based on a lot of work we had this year, we created subcommittees for each goal. So we kind of delegated that so that we could have people focus on that and overall and accomplish our goal for this year. And then we'll give progress and status of all those goals. Okay, next slide. So all our goals and objectives, assist the POA department in developing long-range plans. We're good on that. Been working with them very closely. We have gotten copies of all their tentative long-range 10-year plans from all the major departments. And they've been with numbers in them, with cost numbers. So that's one of the things that we've pushed this year was there should be some cost estimates in there, even though some of them are 10 years out, but there should be at least something in there. Updating a long-range strategic plan, we're working on that. That is in progress. All the 10-year plans that we've gotten from the POA department will be rolled into the long-range plan. So we're taking those, instead of long-range planning, how they worked kind of before, where we went out to the departments and just said, got a little bit of things. Now we got these 10-year plans that we can work with, and then put that into our plan, and then help prioritize items in the future. Okay? Support the POA Development Master Plan. We've been working with Beth and the team on that, so that progress is good. You approved the money for the RFP last month, and the RFP, I guess, is going to be done in the next month or two to be sent out, I believe. Yes. And well, also, that's also master land use with the CCI plan, and we're also relooking at all the current land we had before CCI purchase, what it could be the best utilization of it.
Yeah.
So, good. And we're pursuing the findings of the 2021 Village Survey. We had some focus groups last month, and we're compounding all that data, and that will also go into the long-term strategic plan, that data. Next slide, please. So Department Long-Term Plan Subcommittee. So we're working with the different departments. They've got the 10-year budget. People that are on that committee are myself, Tom McChrystal, and Susan Lehman. And we've met with the departments. Departments have determined cost estimates for 10 years, and they've completed inputting. And the goals would also be input these numbers into the budget when your budget season starts in the next month or so. No? Any questions? Okay. Long-term strategic plan, Barry Sherman, Bruce Polanski, myself, and Roger Forsythe are on this committee reviewing the plan. So we're taking the plan we did 3 years ago. We're looking at it. We're not going to give a total new plan. We're just going to add updates to it instead of going through the whole thing. So we're going to do some incremental updates on it, add new things that have come up since that time frame, and give status on where we're at from that current plan. We've also going to include out what we did. Our survey and focus groups are going to be inputted into that. There has been some changes based off of that survey we've seen, in the last 3 years. So, okay, any questions? Okay, next one. Master land use. Dominic, and Tom McChrystal on that. We meet regularly. We've been actually out walking the properties for the CCI and some of the other properties in the last month. So our goal is we're not going to make any judgments until we can actually see and physically feel the properties. So, we've got a lot of input from the departments, from Beth, and so we think we have a good level on that. We presented the CCI property with Beth in the June board meeting. We're looking at utilization needs and costs and property impact for the owner impact. Like, we don't want to say a new dog park or a new big garage or park is going to be put in a place where residents aren't going to be happy with it. So we're looking for the full rollout for that plan in 2023 to you guys. We'll finish it this year, but our next quarterly report will be in the first quarter of January, so we'll report on that final there. Right? Any questions? Next slide. Survey. The survey was extremely successful. We had over almost 4,000 people answer the survey, and we got a lot of good data. We also did a real big marketing plan, thanks to Phil Brenner, where we did with the Telco Village Broadcasting, these little survey-saved videos, which had almost 2,400 views on that. It's been really good. We then did a focus group on parks and green space and trails. And that was one of the top things that we came out of the survey, what the people want. So did that focus group, and actually the recreation department kind of sat in on that. We didn't want them taking over the conversation, so we actually broadcasted into another room so they could see and impact what they were having but not directing the group. So we've got good data with that. We're sharing that with the recreation department, and all that information is going to go into the land use and the strategic plan. Any questions? Next slide. So the advisory committee participation, we've got a couple of openings coming up this year. So we're looking for more people, applications out there, you know, and we're 3-year terms, but, you know, we're also going to say, hey, there's a lot of other committees we need participation in, guys. So I want to say that here at this meeting, remind people that this is a volunteer organization. We need your help out there. Next slide. Also, one of our representatives says we need more women on these advisory committees, and on POA board. You know, we need more diversity here. So we're asking, you know, ladies out there, and a couple of our members are actually going to HOA, New Villagers, and going to be promoting, hey, we need more women, we need more diversity in these committees. So even though that's not a goal of ours, we felt it was a need, so we're working with that into the committees to try to get that more women and more diversity out there. So we have some different opinions and some different insight into a lot of the stuff that's happening in the village. Any questions? Next slide. That is it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Ed. Any questions for Ed or Sue? All right, let's move on. Operations, Winston.
Thank you, Mr. President. Start off with finance. I'll just briefly give some highlights. Jessica will cover more detail later. Net income, $354,000 for July. It's $128,000 under our budgeted $418 net income we had targeted for. What's happening is our revenues exceeded budget, but expenses that were deferred from earlier in the year are starting to hit our budget, so those are coming in. So missing that budget was not a surprise at all. Year-to-date, the POA is very strong in its financial position. Net income, $2.8 million against a budgeted loss of $219,000. So that'd put us running better than budget of better than budget net income of $3 million. Now, that's not going to all carry to 12/31 of this year because much of it is deferred expenses, but I believe quite a bit of that will. Total cash, $13.9 million, $1.6 million in op cash. Sorry, Steve, we don't have any funds to transfer in reserves right now, maybe later. Compared to 2021, total cash at that time was $12 million with $3.9 million in op cash. So we're much better, by almost $2 million than total cash from last year at this time. Some HR stats, there's 8 positions opening in the total company: water, building maintenance, street department, golf, and 1 in recreation. Year-to-date, the HR department, Russell and Chris have hired 55 employees, but likewise, we have lost 47 through the year. So we're gaining on it, but we are not holding everyone like we want. Very tumultuous time in the HR world as far as hiring bonuses and increases in salaries and so forth, and labor rates. In marketing, for July, we had 66 discovery packages. Last year, we had 76. In our marketing specific traffic for the month, we had 302 people versus 581 last year at this time. Leads were 453 versus 581 we had in 2021. So I think we're starting to see a little bit of a slowdown. Year-to-date numbers, completed discovery packages this year so far 393. Last year at this time was 478. Market-specific traffic year-to-date 2,170. Last year was 3,500. Leads coming into the department year-to-date was 3,230. This time last year was 4,260. And my favorite number, the POA lots that are closed, this year's been 150. Last year at this time is 244. But I'd like to remind everyone on the board that she doesn't have the selection of lots to sell that she's had in the past. So that's not a negative trend. It's just, I think she's working her inventory over pretty good and is starting to run out.
How many are left, Winston?
How many of you got?
Okay, so 25, basically. All right, thanks.
So Beth, do you know how many total lots there are in Tellico Village without homes on them?
With homes?
Without homes. So there's 1,500 lots in Tellico Village that somebody could put a house on, and 23 of them are owned by us. Okay.
Well, no, we own
What?
more. We just have contracts on about 100 that haven't closed, which is a legal process that we're working on.
Yeah, okay.
So on our books, Jess, we still have, what, about 160-ish? About 100 of those are under contract.
So there's,
The good news is, Pat, I can remember we had 600-700 lots that were not generating any assessments.
yeah.
And now we're down to, practically nothing.
Well, what I was getting to was the backdoor answer to a lot of controversy that goes on here, and that is.
No, not at Tellico Village.
No, well, I must have been mistaken. I just read it the wrong way. But the issue of the POA should stop people from building houses. The only ones that we can stop building on is not sell these small number of lots that we have. The vast majority of lots are owned by people. Or yeah, it's your new neighbor or an investor or whoever. Like Alice and I bought one 5 years before. And this would be like the POA then coming to me and saying, "Hey, Patty O, you can't build your dream house." And I say, "Oh, that's sad. I think I'll sell it." Now I'm going to sell it to Sue English Kovar, and Sue is going to say, "Oh, Patty O, thanks for the beautiful golf course lot you sold me." And I'm going to say, "Oh, by the way, you can't build a house on it either." So the chances of me ever selling it are zero. So we can't, Mr. Attorney, we can't tell people not to build a house, can we? No.
They have the right to do so under the governing documents, and to preclude them would be interference with any contractual relationship.
And then we would end up paying a lot of money for that lost lawsuit. But the point was, you have 23 here, 100, you said 115, out of a total of 1,500, correct?
Yes, roughly.
Vast majority are owned by somebody other than us. Okay. Just wanted to clear that up.
Yeah, we can't prevent people from doing what they bought with their property.
Right.
On the commercial side of things, as I've told you in past months, we had 3 units that were unleased. Beth has leased one of those. She signed a lease on that this past month. There's 2 more that are open that she's in the process of getting a little renovation done, and once that's completed, she'll be leasing those out. So we'll, at that time, have a full commercial leased out facility.
So are these at
The Village Square commercial building. The, in ACC, things are still busy, not quite as busy as last year. Year-to-date, we've permitted 207 single-family homes. This time last year, we had permitted 226, so we're about 20 behind. And currently, there are 341 homes under construction as of right now. That's a lot of construction, a lot of house. In Public Works, this obviously is a very busy time of year, long days, a lot of rain, a lot of storms, a lot of cleanup, a lot of projects, maintenance, so forth and so on. Clayton is in the midst of working with paving contractors. He has talked to the board about some changes in procedures to help us line up large paving projects. Given the nature of our beast, we have to compete with municipalities for contractors to do roads and so forth. Not many people have to, worry about this many square feet of asphalt, except cities, and they work on a mid-year calendar year, cyclical year. So we're going to take a little different look at the way we go out for our bids on our and line up contractors there. He's also working on the Chota Road in front of the marathon, trying to find a better solution for that road that is shifting down there. Water upgrades, be brought to the board in a funding request today. Same thing for some sewer system upgrades. Y'all heard about the dock installation and so forth earlier in the meeting, so I'll not get into that. And the utility side of things, sewer tanks, so far last month we installed 25. Year to date it's been 204. In July of 21, it was 144. So we are significantly ahead of where we were last year in installing those. And also sewer leaks and water leaks. In the sewer leak area, we've had 212 leaks year to date. This time last year, we had 188. And the inverse in water leaks, year to date, we've had 91 water leaks, and 21 at this time, we'd had 221. So I think it's kind of a random event when it comes to the water leaks and how they happen.
May I interrupt you for a second before you get too far away?
Certainly, Pat.
There's a question here online, and to explain how this works, because I've seen this on social media too. I've got 4 screens going on my computer. I think Sue keeps a couple going on hers. She's got some going on hers. I've also got my notes page, my agenda page and all this. So when you see me going from thing to thing, Bob Denny just asked a question that I think I can help answer from the property owner's point of view, not a board member, and she can answer Beth from the marketing. Bob says once the POA owns no lots, will there still be a need for things like marketing, tours, et cetera, and why would the POA continue to promote the village in other areas? From my perspective, Pat and Alice that live at 304 Skiatook Circle, I bought my house in 2007, moved from Maryland. The house in Maryland was already caught in the housing recession, and fortunately I sold it quick enough that I didn't take the full hit. I moved down here. Tellico Village was now not in the housing recession, but heading that way fast. I bought this house high. I sold that one going down. I bought this one still up. I lost $180,000 on the value of my home from 27 to 2019 because of that housing recession. Okay, I got a free marketing department, folks, because my house just went up $300,000 between 2019 and 22 because of this effort. So if we're not building any lots anymore and we cancel this marketing effort that we have in Tellico Village, who is going to find this spot in East Tennessee to come by my house when I hit the actuarial age of 85 and have to move to wherever I'm going to go next? But I'll eventually go there, and I will need the cash to cash out of this house to buy the equity for the people to take care of me and wash my clothes and clean my apartment. You follow? So I'm always going to need it. Now, your turn.
I'm going to present later, so stay tuned.
Okay. Okay, that's all I want to answer to Bob's question. Okay. Now you can go ahead. Thank you.
It's like a paid promotion, Pat.
It is for me.
There is a counterpoint. The value of marketing is obvious, to be able to resell your house, not to sell POA lots. The only discussion that I think needs to be had is how big is the marketing budget? That's all there is.
And as long as it pays for itself.
Moving right along.
Budget discussion.
In next department I'm going to talk about is update the board on is golf. I'd like to congratulate Casey Flanagan. He won the 2022 Tennessee Professionals Championship.
Yeah. Guess where he gets to go.
Yeah, he's quite the golfer. Shot a 70, 67, 65. Threw some strong action at him, and this was at Tennessee National. With this win, this qualifies Casey to play for the 2023 PGA Professional Championship in New Mexico.
A major, yeah.
And so, quite an accomplishment. Casey's a fine golfer. I've played with him before, and it was not for money. July was a very wet month, as of all of y'all are aware. That did hamper our golf somewhat. We had anywhere from 7.2 inches to almost 10 inches of rain, depending on what course you took the measurements at. In spite of all the weather interruptions, had a strong July. Year-to-date rounds sit at 10,339 over budget, and they only trail the 2021 record play by 3,700 rounds. Golf believes that they're going to come in somewhere around 101 to 102,000 rounds for 2022, which is tremendous given the fact that 2016, 17, you know, we were keeping our fingers crossed to try to hit 80,000 rounds. So congratulations to Chris Sykes and his team. They've done a great job on the courses. They look excellent, and I continue to hear a lot of praise about the conditions and everything that they are in. Great job. In the Kahiti bunker renovation, this is work that we are doing in-house. Jordan and his team's doing a great job. They have completed holes 10 through 14 and 18, and they have holes 15 through 17 roughed in, and they're ready for finishing. It'd be my preference if they would just eliminate those, but that's not in the plan. The cost that they will save on that is going to be tremendous by doing a lot of this work in-house versus having it contracted out. And then in July, we had our annual junior golf camp. 65 junior golfers participated in that, and they get a full week of indoctrination into the golf world, teaching them all kinds of play and etiquette and sportsmanship. And then there's a little mini tournament. They play teams, and first, second, and third place trophies are handed out, and then there's a lot of fun. And it's fun for the grandparents to have their grandkids in and participate in that. Year-to-date, golf income is negative $815 versus a budget of $1,205,000, so they are way ahead of their budget by $390,000. That's always exciting to me, but they are really doing a great job in our golf world. Another department that's doing a great job is the rec department. We have hit in the July month of 22 record membership levels. Family memberships are 1,320. That's 37% higher than this time last year in family memberships. And then you always see on the inverse of that, that the individual memberships have reduced, but not this month. Individual memberships are sitting at 693. That's the highest level of memberships that the rec department has ever had. I went back and looked at the stats ever since the wellness center was built. So that is an exceptional job. That tells me that Simon and his team are doing a great job producing what the property owners want, having programs they want, and, you know, doing a good job there. The indoor cycling classes that we started a couple of months ago have been a huge hit. Classes are filling up fast. It's Simon's belief that those classes are generally not that big a demand during the summer months, I guess because it's nice, people are outside. So he's anticipating in the winter months that this would be a very big thing, so I can see him probably wanting to expand this area of the rec world. And last department I want to give a quick update is on food service. This time of year, food sales are strong. Expect it to be strong throughout the end of the summer, throughout the rest of the summer period. This is the busiest time of year. August is a kind of a transition time. Some of the help goes back to school, high schools and colleges. But Andy does say that the labor market is starting to ease up a bit, and he's having a better time or an easier time filling positions and so forth. At the clubhouses, sales were strong. July, 142,000. Year-to-date sales was 805. This time last year, the monthly sales, or year-to-date sales was 647. So that's a little over 150,000 better than last year. Tenacity, July sales, 179, year-to-date was 832. Last year, year-to-date was 699, so that's about 130,000 better than last year. And then at Yacht Club, the year-to-date sales was 867. Year-to-date last year was 795, so that's about $70,000 better there. And the Kitty Clubhouse, year-to-date was 330. Last year at this time, 281, so they're running 50,000 better at the Kahiti Clubhouse in sales. Bob, tell them to keep up the good work out there. Best place to eat in the village, a non-biased opinion. Anyway, that's all my report. Are there any questions from the board?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind.
Except Steve.
Give everybody an update on the status of Republic Trash Service, what's been going on to get the service improved?
Yeah, our trash service, went through a transition, went from Santec. Santec was taken over by Republic. Republic had a litany of problems and issues that, we talked to them about months ago. Clayton's been in contact with them every week. We thought we were making improvements a month ago. We seem to see a lot less trouble. It has resurfaced. Their problems have increased significantly in the last 2 weeks, and we are looking at our options because I'm over it, and I know Clayton and the rest of our staff are tired of handling the complaints and hearing the excuses. So we are looking at our options, and we will be getting with the board and making whatever changes we need to make and proceeding on. Yes, ma'am.
Just reading next door, we see that a new contract was signed. Is that true?
You saw it where?
Next door. That a new contract was signed with Republic.
No, that's not true.
No.
I'll give
And-
you some advice. I wouldn't believe next door for anything.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
No, there is.
All right.
No,
So are there options? That's another thing on next door. There are no other options. There has to be.
Oh, there's options. Yes, ma'am.
Good to hear. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
You may want to add to that when you take a look, I don't know if we got 6,000 or 5,000 houses that are served. It's a lot of equipment, recycle bins, trash bins. You got to find a supplier that has that kind of inventory of equipment and trucks and manpower to take over. So this is not a quick fix or a simple fix or something that we have an answer to that we can handle tomorrow. But if you're going to do something, you got to keep that all in mind. You can go to somebody, but how long is it going to take them to get all that equipment and the manpower to service the village?
I think even messaging from Republic, some people get messages, but that causes you to leave your trash out for days, because you don't know if they're coming tomorrow, the next day, the next day. If we had a message from them, we can at least pull it back inside. It looks disgusting.
Yes, we're not happy either.
And again, that's why we're exploring those options, but also understanding, and I don't know about what you guys are. I suspect Marty, because he and I both live in Coyote. They miss my trash too. They don't come by sometimes for days. And I wake up real early and I hear them go by, and they go right by my street. They just don't turn right. And then they turn at the end of the cul-de-sac and they go back out of my neighborhood. I walk out, I've got a full trash can. Call the POA, and again, this is the first thing I want to do, is I know Clayton and Beth and Mitzi and Winston don't want to hear this, but if you complain on next door, we don't know it. You got to complain to the POA. You send an email, a phone call, a text, get on Help Spot, truth be told, whatever it is, it's easiest, convenient for you. Easiest is, for me, is Help Spot. You just get on there and just say, I'm Pat White, 304 Skiatook, didn't pick up my trash today, that's it. It goes right to Clayton. I'm not expecting him to give me an answer, but now he's got a log. He's got, instead of 2 or 3 pieces of paper, he's got hundreds. The other one, the quick fix, that I read on social media is kick them out and get me Waste Connections back in here. They can't do it. They've got to go buy trucks, 6,000 bins, 6,000 recycle bins, the employees, the training, put them in. You're talking 3 months. So we kick Republic out. That's what I want to do. And 3 months later, after your trash is sitting on your street in front of your house, they will come by and pick it up. It's going to take anybody a minimum of three months, typically, what they're telling us. We're doing the research. We're asking the people, looking at various options to have this trash removed in Tellico Village. But right now, it's not fast enough for me or for you. And we understand that.
Okay. Thanks for the update. Sure.
Picture looks pretty rosy on the individual Toco Clubhouse, Tenassi Clubhouse income. How much of that is due to the increased prices, or is there really an increased volume going through on the individual clubhouses and yacht club?
Well, I'm sure some of it's due to increase in pricing. I don't have that detail of data to know exactly which one is which, but I would say it's a combination of, well, I know some of it's part of pricing, but I'd say it's a combination of both.
Well, there's been pretty significant price increases, so I question whether the real volume input through the restaurants or whether we're getting more customers through the restaurants or whether it's just kind of funny money because of inflation and pricing.
Yeah, well, the year-to-date numbers, a lot of the pricing, would be in part of that, not all of the months. But we can check and see if we got counts on, like table turns and so forth.
Okay. Second question, back on the lots that Pat was talking about. 1,500 lots in the village. We have 24 in our inventory. How many lots are, say, roughly a year past due in their dues or their POA assessments that we could anticipate coming on to our rolls at some point in time?
Yeah, Jessica's going to cover that in her presentation in just a few minutes.
Okay.
And Howard, to piggyback on the restaurant information, the property owners are at 100% risk of gain or loss at the yacht club and at Kahiti. Whatever the sales and profit made at Tenassi and Tokwa is a contractor issue. That's AWE. We don't subsidize. We don't receive any gain from those two restaurants. So when Winston quotes revenue from Tenassi and Tokwa, I personally, the only reason I look at it is to make sure we got some business here that residents are being served. But as far as the financial impact,
to us, that's right.
it's zero.
Right. I understand that. Okay.
Okay, next up is 2022 capital major projects.
Yeah, this is just a quick update. This basically is information for the board. They asked last year that this be created to help them follow capital and major projects. So you can see it's 11 by 17 sheet. It's a real eye chart, but it has on there. It's not. It's exactly as titled. It's capital and major products. It's got the description of the products, designates whether it's a capital or a project, the month that it falls in, and it has a status on the right-hand side. So you can see the completed, you can see the over/under, and you can see the status of those that are in process or have not been completed, or if they're delayed and what's the reason, and so forth and so on. So I don't think I need to read this for you all, but it's in your agenda package for your all's information.
Maybe next month, if you could, Jessica, if you take that report and just summarize how much capital has been spent year to date, because we focus a lot on net income or net loss. Mm-hmm. From a cash flow basis, you got to subtract out your CapEx.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that ask too was to understand where we were falling behind and if there was money we were not going to be spending because of timing.
One other question from the audience on the web is Barb Nicholson says, this would be to Winston and to Kevin, is there anything we can do financially to penalize Republic for non-performance? They don't issue credits except for missed pickup, not for delayed pickup. We have any way to penalize Republic for missing?
There's not a direct.
Microphone.
There's not a direct form of liquidated damages under the contract, but we are exploring all of our contract rights at this point in time.
Okay. Thanks, Barb.
Okay, let's continue on. Jessica's up, finance.
Our assessed lots through July is right in line with budget. We have 21 more than budget. To answer your question about the suspended accounts and how many we could possibly take over, it would be around 80 lots as of today. And employee head count, we're 9. We're missing 9 employees. That's it. Our net income is sitting at 2.7, which is 2.9 variance from budget. Or overall, our revenue is 3% better than budget, so that's $549,000 better. Expenses is 2.4 million less than budget. We are going to see some requests come up here pretty quickly that will reduce that number some.
Will that catch up? I mean,
I
that's
don't think
quite a
it's going to
bit.
catch up, no. Not with what we
So
got.
some projects just won't be getting done? I mean,
Clayton.
and that's not
what do
you, I know, but
Right. Are
that's,
you thinking all of your projects will be completed, or?
We'll know here in a few minutes.
Okay. For the general operations, our revenue is sitting at 8.4 million, and our total expenses is at 2.7, which is giving us a net income of 5.6. Golf operations, they are 230,000 better than budget in their revenue, 161,000 below budget in expenses, but they do have a negative net income of $815,000. Recreation, 92,000 better than budget. Expenses are 142,000 below budget, with net income of a negative 466,000. Public Works, their revenue is below budget right now. That is due mostly to the tank installations. Some of that is budget issues and just timing of closing, because as Winston noted earlier, we have over 300 homes in progress that will be closed within the next several months. Public safety is right in line with budget. Food service, the revenue for Kahiti Grill is 9,000 better than budget. They are 64,000 below budget in expenses, with a negative net income of 412,000. Dock and RV, they are 125,000 better than revenue, which is what's making that up is our gas dock revenue. And their expenses are 7,000 below budget, so we're right in line with budget on that. And commercial, as you can see, the revenue is right in line with budget right now. And we are doing some maintenance on 2 of the units that we have open. So you will see that 40,000 variance under maintenance that will decrease as we get some of that maintenance completed. I'm going to just skip down to the last golf rounds. So, okay. As Winston stated earlier, we are 10,000 rounds better than budget, around 3,700 rounds less than last year. Our household memberships are sitting at 1,320 with individual at 692. Collection update. Year-to-date, we have received $731,600 due to our collection efforts on delinquent accounts. And we currently have 120 delinquent accounts with a balance due of right at $2.1 million. And they are 7 homes that are delinquent in Tellico Village. So our first capital funding request is for Kahiti Grill, and it's going to relocate the electrical panel. And Betsy, do you want to, okay.
Sorry, thank you, Jessica. I actually put some pictures with my funding request. One of the biggest things I think that comes up is, why don't you have 3 bids? And in this case, we do plan to get 3 bids. This we have always known has been phase 1 of the kitchen expansion. No matter what we do is move the electrical panel. Again, I'm going to show you some photos to give you some ideas. But we also had some contractors come in and look in the attic and see if it was a possibility to move the HVAC unit, and maybe it was a cheaper option, but it wasn't. So we decided we would stick with what our first inclination was, which was to move this electric panel. So what our actual request is, and the Finance Advisory agreed and actually approved it, would be to go ahead and go out for other bids before we just immediately go with this Funderburk. But we would like to have this approved in the amount of not to exceed $23,377. For instance, Clayton and I think that once Harvest is available to give us a quote, we'll be able to get them at a lower cost than the $23,000. Funderburk, many of you have probably heard that name. That's actually the group that does our electrical work for the docks, and they were at Kahiti, and they were able to give us a quote. But let me show you some photos just to give you an idea as to what it is we want to accomplish, no matter what we finally decide and what the board approves when the time comes for an expansion. This is the wall when you are at the bar at Kahiti and you're looking at the wait staff where they are standing behind the bar. Just behind it, there's another bar or another wall, and this is a non-load bearing wall. This wall, our guys will actually be taking out, moving the shelving and moving the prep tables all the way to the very back. So basically what we're doing is open it up and just making one big open floor space. There will be nothing in the middle. So you'll see on the next slide what we're proposing that we can have moved. This thing doesn't want to work for me today. On the left-hand side, there's the electrical panel. If you look on the very, very far left, you'll see a gal there working with a bandana on her head. That's the front of the house. That's where she's serving. So this wall here will come out, and the other photo was the original picture that I showed you, that first picture. So that whole little L-shaped wall will come out. So no matter what we do, on this right-hand side, I'm standing right at the wall where this electrical panel will now go. We just want to take it off that wall and put it on the very back. So again, Clayton and I talked, we would like to get additional bids before we do it. We won't do this work until the fall, but the idea is that if you all approve it and we know we're going to move the electrical panel, we could schedule it for a maybe rainy day, a day that they're just going to be available and there's no golf maybe going on, but our guys could go ahead and start tearing down a wall and moving some shelving without disrupting our service whatsoever. So that's what we come to you today, and of course Finance did approve that as well. One more thing, Finance questioned, is this approved as far as the overall $175,000 $100,000 that's already been put into the budget, and this is, because we knew no matter what we do, we're going to be relocating this electrical panel. So this is just kind of phase one.
Make a motion to relocate the electrical panel at the Kahidi Grill not to exceed $23,377.
Moved in second to move the electrical panel at Kahidi Grill for $23,700.
$377.
$377. Any discussion?
Just that we're going to get quotes before we proceed.
Yes.
Not to exceed, right.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? Call for a vote. All in favor? 6-0.
The next project is a maintenance funding request. It's street resurfacing. You can see the list of streets is Utsima Way, Awahili, Gato, Gadusi. Those are the streets that we are recommended be resurfaced due to the shape that they are in. The FAC advisory did recommend this project. They did want us to make sure that it was in line with the Kahidi project last year. And so the budget amount is $650, and we are requesting $449,400.
And PSEC recommended this? Can you come up and tell us why?
So, when,
You have to use the mic.
when we took this to PSAC and asked for a recommendation to move forward, they wanted to know why we didn't receive 3 bids. We reached out to 4 companies. I have emails from 2 of them where one of them was too busy. They could not get to it this year. That was Rogers Group. PRI said that they would love to bid on it, but they never did bid. So we had 3 no bids and 1 bid. And they felt that we needed more bids to move forward, so they would not suggest to move forward with that. Now, they did recommend that we pave 1 street, that we resurface 1 street, but they would not recommend to do them all.
Is there a problem that you have doing just one of these 4?
Yes, there is. If you look at the quote that they gave us on each of these streets, mobilization is a big part of that. So if you take and remove mobilization off all the other 3 and put it all on 1, that price goes extremely high. So, and to me, when we evaluated the streets, these streets, some of them are worse, but not much worse. All of them are in bad shape of resurfacing. We need to decide if we want to drive on gravel roads here in Tellico Village and road roads, or we want to drive
is
on good.
this normal maintenance of these streets, or is this unusual?
Well,
Meaning, have
it
they?
is unusual because our streets are taking a beating from all this heavy construction from all the homes that are being built at this time.
And in particular, my understanding is these 4 are taking a heavy beating.
Yes, sir.
So we have 4 streets of property owners that are going to go into a fall rainy season. Water will seep into the cracks and holes, freeze thaw cycle. By spring, they're probably, like you say, I'm not going to say driving on gravel, but it is not going to be pleasant to drive on these streets.
It's not going to be pleasant, but we are driving on gravel on
Yeah.
one of the streets, I
Yeah.
promise you, and mud where it's coming through the street right now.
Okay, so I totally get that we certainly don't want our streets to degrade. What is your confidence level since, and I understand that you were only able to get 1 company to bid, what is your confidence level that that's a good price for what we're getting?
So, PSAC and Finance asked me to look at the square yardage price of what we did for Kahidi. Square yardage price for Kahidi last year was $15.89 a square yard. Now, understand that company never completed that job. I have an email here from that company where he was realizing that I had to have someone come in and do the striping and stuff and had to subtract that off of their bill. So they never did perform and complete the job. That was the company that was supposed to do Toqua parking lot, and they never completed that job. Toqua parking lot that we done this year, where we done the same type of work that we will on these, where we done milling and paving. One of them was one section of Toqua. Hang on, I'm sorry. Toqua was at. Got too many papers. Sorry. Toqua, when we done Toqua this year that you all approved, it was $19.20 a square yard for one section and $19.21 for one of the other sections. So to do what we're wanting to do this year, for the stuff that is comparable with the milling and paving, one section was $17.22 a square yard, and one is $18.51 a square yard.
Okay.
So
All right.
a little more than what Kahidi was last year, but that's inflation and stuff, and a little less than what Toqua was this year.
Okay, okay. Well, that's what I needed to know, so, all right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So knowing that, why would PSAC still basically not recommend?
I think, I can't speak for them. They never did give a good, clear understanding of why. Mr. Tierney is here. He can speak for PSAC if he chooses. He is the chairman. So.
PSAC is a 5-member committee, advisory committee. Two of the members voted in favor, 3 opposed. Our concerns are you've got almost a $500,000 paving contract that really was unbudgeted. We're using money that would have gone to maintenance on the PMM application, and you're going to use it for fixing roads, which is fine. We're fine with fixing roads. PSAC wasn't presented with evidence that a request for proposal was prepared in accordance with the purchasing policies. And with only a single bidder and a $500,000 contract, we were concerned. So our recommendation was to not approve it. My personal recommendation would be to rebid it. Unfortunately, we're late in the season, and the chances of getting a more favorable bid are not all that great. There are options. You patch the roads the sections that are really bad with just patches, long patches or wide patches. Gadusi Circle is terrible in one corner, and it's already gone. It's failed. But it's more of a what processes were followed, and the 4 bidders here. Of the 4 bidders, probably 2 of them are the most qualified, and the one who did bid is one of those 2. So Harrison is a qualified company. Rogers Group is qualified. PRI, I wouldn't consider qualified any further because they failed on 2 projects for us. So,
Right.
So it was a matter of making sure we were following our processes.
Processes and procedures.
Okay, thank you. Hey, Clayton, there's a question out here from Joe H. Are the contractors being fined when they damage the streets?
We don't fine them, but we do cost recovery when that building project is completed. So.
And so how will that be happening on these 3 roads?
Well, when we prove what they've done, then we will make them come back and pay for the damage that they've done to the road. Yes, yeah, we got to prove it, and some of them, what we do is we take pictures before and after construction, and if we can prove that they damaged the roads, we make them pay the cost recovery charges for that. And I'm sure there's people in this room that can verify that has happened. you know,
Yes,
so.
yes, there are people that can verify that.
Just
And-
built a
and-
house, did you?
And so, have you done on these two very costly instances to try to get a hold of some of that?
We have got documentation from where they've been damaged before and after, and we are in communication with the builders, letting them know that they will be responsible
Okay.
for some of the costs. So some of this will be refunded,
Great,
so.
that's,
Question on what I heard, I think I heard, that there was no documentation to show that the bidding procedure was followed. Is that correct?
It wasn't presented to PSAC.
So does it exist? And if it does exist, why didn't PSAC see it?
There's emails where we sent out and asked people if they had the opportunity that they could bid on those projects.
So there was no formal bid package sent out as required by the purchasing?
No, but we was just trying to find someone that could, so we were asking if they would be able to bid. If they were been able to bid, we would have sent those out.
Okay.
Again, we get back to this issue, not for or against at this point, but we get into this issue this late in the season. It just seems like every road we're getting on 321, 11 all the way Kingston Pike all the way into Knoxville, it gets really tough to get these guys to pay for us. So, right.
Yeah, but I can understand PSAC's position. We got a purchasing
Absolutely.
manual, we've got bidding procedures, and an email to pre-screen does not qualify as a bidding package.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now the recommendation comes before the board. PSAC did not approve. FAC says we will want to know the square footage cost. We now have that information. I'll make a motion. And again, I don't like to override or, I guess the word's override, an advisory committee recommendation. But in this case, I have a tough time looking at 4 streets of property owners getting into winter and we not road to a level that it needs to be. So I'll make the motion that we do resurfacing, street resurfacing, multiple locations following the justification of Utsima Way from Chota to Chota Road, O'Healy Drive from Utsima to Highway 44, Gato Way, and Gadusi Circle at a rate of $449 forward, $414.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve this resurfacing bid for $449, $414 for the prior listed roadways. Any further discussion?
just one thing, Clayton, then if you can follow back up with us on your success of being able to recoup any of this from builders? Thank you.
Okay, call for a vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? Passed 6-0.
Barb Nicholson asked the questions back on collections you were talking about. 2.7 million past due on just 7 homes?
No, 120.
120, yeah. Your mic on?
Sorry.
Do it again.
120 suspended accounts owes 2.1 million.
Yeah.
And the 7
these are-
homes is part of that 120 suspended accounts.
We have a lot more suspended accounts or lots in collection than we have homes.
That is
And
correct.
so you make a point every month to show us how many homes are in there.
Yes.
And there are
Once a-
7, but it's not 2 million in homes.
No, once a home is built, we usually do not have a collection issue any longer.
Yeah, I don't see anything else that hasn't been
Jessica, may
covered.
I ask Clayton one other, since we're talking about roads, Is there a status update for the Chota Road fix?
Yes, there is I have a price on doing concrete, but I'm waiting on tomorrow to get the complete engineering scope and details and all that to go over it with PSAC. I shared a price with them. Not trying to speak for our chairman, but I think our chairman will support that. Now, it's extremely high, but it's a concrete fix to where we won't have to worry about it anymore. So as soon as we look over those details, we will be bringing that to the board for recommend for approval. This is the same company that done the concrete approaches on 321. So they've done all the engineering, they've done a scope of work and everything. So
September.
yes, sir. We'll have an asphalt price for that too. So.
Okay. Ready for the next one?
Oh, by the way, Barb Nicholson says thanks.
You're welcome. The next capital funding request is for the sewer department. It's engineering services for the main lift station. We are requesting $40,000, and the funds would come from water and sewer reserve. They're wanting to put a new wet weather storage tank in. Right now, we have 3 options to put the tank in with a new main lift station, put the tank in and utilize the existing lift station, or we can put a tank in utilizing Tokwa and Tanasi pumps. Jacobs Engineering will do the study for us.
So could I have a motion?
Sure. Engineering services for main lift station, the project justification, which is listed on a new wet weather storage tank with new main lift station, and we're gonna talk about these 3 options in just a second. Wet weather storage tank utilizing existing main lift station, and wet weather storage tank existing Tokwa and Tanasi pumps. Jacobs Engineering to do the engineering services for a grand total of $40,000.
Second. Second by Sue.
Now, will you explain the 3 options here?
So this $40,000 is to do the study on look at these 3 options, but we'll look at 2 of the options, which will lower the price if we don't have to look at the 3rd option. So the first option will be, all of them involves the new storage tank, but the first option we'll look at is pumping everything from Tokwa and Tanasi directly into the new storage tank with the upgrading those existing pumps, which by the sewer study, those pumps needed to be upgraded anyway. So that would be the first option. And then if that's not possible, we'll look at utilizing our existing main lift station. So if neither one of those would work, which I cannot foresee any reason why they wouldn't, then we would go to the 3rd option. So if one of those 2 works, then, it will be less than $40,000 because we won't spend that time doing the 3rd option.
So is this the 1 million gallon tank we've been talking about?
Yes, sir, which we got to get this done so we can finish putting together our permit for the TDEC.
And the new location would be where?
The new tank would be down at the main lift station in that wooded area, where the little brown building is down there and stuff down in that area. So.
Between the yacht club and the parking lot on the east side of Tellico Parkway.
Yeah, I have Jimmy Ogle doing this a survey and locating it on there and everything right now.
But it's on Sequoia.
Yeah, where the main lift station is, down
Right.
off in the hole. So as soon as you turn on Sequoia Road, it's a little road right there by the garden, by the entrance garden, down off in the hill. Our goal is finding out how wide we can go, because the bigger and radius that we can go, the shorter we can keep it. So, which either way, you're going to be driving by 2 or 3 seconds. So you're not really going to see it. So.
Okay.
So to piggyback on this request, there's going to be 2 other ones for a total of $210,000 to Jacobs. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
and this question's been asked before, and I understand why you don't make a change in midstream, but at what point will we start bidding out some of this engineering to see if we're getting competitive value or not?
On one of these funding requests that is coming up with the Kahiti water and sewer studies, I have reached out to another engineering firm, WK Dixon, to give us a price on doing that. We have what Jacobs would charge us to do that, so we've reached out to them. They're looking at our water and sewer model, you know, and stuff, and looking at all of our GIS information that we have, and he's going to give us an estimate on what he'd charge to do that.
Okay, because what I'm seeing is Jacobs has got that job recommended for 45 as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, but we've reached out to them for a price. We're just trying to get it to where we can move forward. PSAC wanted to move forward with doing that engineering over there. When we were talking about it, we explained to them that we will reach out to WK Dixon.
Okay.
So the other thing here, Clayton, is you got 345 basically for the engineering services, right? Is there any projection of what the total cost is going to be for this project?
No, that's what this will do.
So-
This will tell us what project, which way we can go, and the estimated cost. We've got to have that to present to you all for approval. Then we got to have the plans and stuff to complete that TDEC grant.
But, I mean, do we know like
Yeah.
$1 million and $500,000?
I'd say we're looking at about $2 million with upgrading the pumps and installing the tank.
And would that 2 million be in addition to what was in the Jacobs study?
Yes, well, not the entire 2 million, because when you look at the Jacob sewer study, they recommended upsizing those pumps and those lift stations, so that would already be part of it. The only additional thing we would want to do is put the storage tank in.
Right. It's the surge capacity.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Any other discussion? Okay, call for a vote. All in favor of approving this request for Jacobs Engineering for $40,000? Approved, 6-0.
Sorry. The next capital funding request is for the water department. It's a Chota booster station. Budget amount is $600,000. We're requesting $125,000. This is phase one design from Jacobs Engineering. It'll be located at the base of the existing Chota water storage tank, and will provide about 350 gallons per minute of water. I do need project approval and funding from Water and Sewer Reserve approval.
Okay, you have get a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve 125,000 Chota Booster Station, Phase 1, from Jacobs Engineering.
It's been moved in second.
Question. PSAC approved this? It says on the sheet, Finance did.
Yes, PSAC did. Now, Mr. Hawkey, and Mr. Hawkey isn't here, but he wanted me to sit down with Jacobs Engineering and Mr. Hawkey. He feels like he can help whittle this price down some. So that will be something we do if y'all approve to move forward with this. Because I made that commitment, if Pat remembers, during the PSAC meeting, that I would give him an opportunity to sit down with me and Jacobs Engineering to try and lower that price. But
And
they
there was about, as I remember, $7,000 to $5,000 in a particular part of the contract or their proposal that they had given us prior, $5,000 to $7,000 less than what they did in this one.
Yes, there were several $1,000s he thinks that we can, lack of better words, beat them up and get them down some on it, so.
Okay.
And that, we will do that.
So this 600,000 is total project cost, not just engineering services?
It's not for booster pump, no, the booster pump station won't take the rest of that 600,000, no.
It'll all be completed, the whole project will be completed for 600,000 or less, is what
Yes.
you're saying?
Yes, for that booster pump and stuff, yes, sir.
The 125 is just the engineering phase
Correct.
of it. Got it. Any other? Any other questions or comments? Okay, call for a vote. All in favor of proceeding? 6-0. Passed.
The next funding request is for a carbon fiber repair to the tank. Crom was here to do some repairs to the tank. They did notice that there was some broken wires. And this is the proposal. It's a 2021 carryover project, but it's a proposal to put a patch on there of carbon fiber to repair the tank. And we do have a one-source bid from Crom because they did all of the work on the tank from the very beginning and the work that was recently completed. We are requesting $28,430, and I will need project approval and funding from the Water and Sewer Reserve.
Me again. All right.
Okay, Steve seconded.
Yeah, okay, so you don't want me to read it out loud?
I
Okay,
don't think we need
okay.
to. We've got it here in front of us.
I'm just
So
delaying.
it's-
But anyway, there's, this one, I think, needs some explanation to the property owners of what this is. This is the water tank that is across or behind the recreation center up on the hill, correct? Wellness center, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, wellness center, up on the hill. We had it serviced this year and during the, to periodic maintenance, prevent leaks, et cetera, right? Inside and outside, got painted. During the course of that, part of the inspection was they found an area that is away from the recreation center that has been drilled into for some reason. Nobody can figure out why. It's done a long time ago. In drilling in there, they've broken wires, and those wires hold the tension of the concrete, so when the tank is filled, released, it's expanding and contracting, and we're afraid, based on the engineering firms, that this will eventually break through. They then chipped it off, they found some rust in there, more wire damage, and they're saying that today's technology is good or better putting a carbon fiber patch, I'm gonna have you describe it in a minute, over this, sealing it, and it works as well or better than rewrapping the entire tank with wire and coating it again. So if you could describe that. And again, this is to prevent one day the tank going pop and water coming out the side.
Yeah, this patch is, the carbon fiber will, when they come up here, they will do some minor bores into the concrete. They won't get into the pretension wires. They'll do some minor bores in there that will help it connect to the concrete. But then there's it's like a glue material that will glue it to that concrete, but it will still, when it goes to expand and contract, it won't let it go too far. You know, it will only let it expand so much, and that's the problem right now, where there's 19 broken wires in that one section. So right now, it's fine, but tomorrow, for some reason, it may break. But we just need that to reinforce and put some integrity back in that area. The patch is 4 feet wider than, you know, on all four sides, all around, 4 feet wider than the damaged spot. Crom tells us they've done these in multiple places. It comes with a warranty. They'll warranty it. They guarantee the work. You know, when I've talked to Jacobs Engineering and talked to W.K. Dixon, both of them have seen this project used on tanks. And for the money that we've spent on this tank, we've spent $200,000, you know, refurbing this tank from, it'd be bad not to spend $28,000 more and make sure we had it completed correctly.
PSAC approved?
Yes, sir.
Gonna be done when?
That will be done in November, because what happens, the tank level comes down. That's part of the existing contract that we have with Crom where they come in, redone the inside, they have to come back in a year, inspect it, and fix any problems that there are. So they'll come back in November, do the re-inspection of the inside of the tank. They'll do any repairs that need to be done inside the tank and do this also.
So then we'll be out of irrigation season too.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Any more questions, comments? Okay, call for a vote. All in favor of approving this? Pass 6-0.
Our last funding request is Kahiti Hydraulic Modeling and Master Plan. The budget amount, this was an unbudgeted project. We're requesting $45,000. Now, this is the project that he is going to get a second bid from another engineering firm. So we're asking for the $45,000, and with any additional bids coming in, will not exceed that $45,000.
Can we defer this? I'm asking Clayton, can we defer this until we get the second bid? Then discuss between the two?
Yes, you can.
I'd rather do it that way.
Not a problem.
All right, I agree as well. All right, good. Thank you. Okay,
But that'll be next month, 'cause we really need to get these people, Tahiti is concerned about that, they feel that they deserve to have.
Yeah, and that's not the issue. And I understand Steve's, and it would be good for us to have another engineering firm to get particularly familiar with our water and sewer.
I think that'll help Jacobs understand that, we're just not going to them, we're looking at other options.
And looking at the Kahiti side, you've got one line in, one line out. We better be prepared. We want to know what's going on with that system, and that's what this is going to tell us.
okay, very good. Thanks, Jessica.
One more question. Balance sheet. Your deferred warranty revenue, that's the 20% for the sewer?
Yes, sir.
So just to highlight, for folks that don't look at the balance sheet, our balance in that reserve, I'll call it, even though it's called deferred, is down 47,000 from last year, down to about 278. That indicates we're taking more out than we're putting in, so the 20%, which is supposed to handle maintenance of the sewer system, we're spending more than the 20% we're putting in. That's why the value's coming down.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Beth is up. Marketing program.
All right. I have with me today Joe Bogardus, who is on the marketing subcommittee. Fred Toucher is not with us. He is in Europe. Lucky, lucky.
Oh, Fred. Left you alone.
Yes, he left us all alone. All right, so what we're going to be discussing today is some background on the national economy and housing market, marketing program performance for the first half of the year, balance outlook for the remainder of the year, some conclusions, and then talk about the Telka Village 10-year anniversary for marketing. All right, starting with the national economic status. A recession is defined by 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth, which we have had, although second quarter was just slightly. June 2022 inflation rate is 9.1, which is the highest since 1981. The 30 fixed mortgage rate is 5.52, which is up 85% over last year, and feds have raised the interest rate another 75 basis points in July. Single-family existing home sales is down 12% versus last year and 5% versus just the prior month. Single-family housing starts also is down 15% and 6% versus the prior month. June 2022 median single-family home sales price was up 13.4% versus a year ago, but only 0.1% versus the prior month. Now we're going to talk about marketing performance for the first half of the year. MLS residential sales are up 5%. The first half had 159 sales versus 152 last year. It is important to note that last year we had a record sale. Our 2021 was record for Telka Village at 323 MLS homes sold. The marketing program leads equals 66% of MLS houses sold. So what does that mean is when you look at every home sold in Telka Village through the first half of the year, 66% of those can be tied directly back to the marketing program and for our efforts. This represents the strongest performance with the national housing crisis. Well, it's not really a crisis yet, sorry, I misspoke. Nobody write that down. But just with the economic issues summarized above. MLS lot sales are down 39%, with only 103 sales in the first half of the year versus 168 last year. And marketing program leads can equalize 57% of total MLS lots sold. This shows signals the village turning back to more normal growth rates, which I think everyone is okay with. Now we look at residential property values. The average sale is $248 per square foot. That's up 30% versus the first half of last year. And equity for 2022 for an average size house, which is about 2,500 square feet, is an increase of $147,000 or 30%. Median home sales price increased 25% to $555,000. And this is a graph showing when we started the marketing program in 2013, the price per square foot was $121, and then where we are for the first half of this year. POA lot sales, they're down 14%, 131 sales for the first half. These declines are primarily due, one, to lot inventory, which Winston mentioned, and also the elimination of some of the builder's perks, but mostly because of lot inventory. We do have roughly 99 lots that are currently pending, and most of those are waiting legal cleanup of bad titles. We see that some of those should close this year, but sometimes those take multiple years to get fixed. First half net marketing revenue is $1.3 million. Total marketing revenue was $1.6, and if you look at marketing costs and expenses of $243,000, that's a net turn on investment of 567%. And then the next slide will show you how we break that down. You get contractual revenue, realtor revenue, and then advertising revenues. Also, you get the revenue from lot sales and lot assessment. And then taking into consideration the lots and the programs that we can actually directly relate back to marketing, which we do a multi-step process. We don't just randomly pick people. That shows you the additional revenue that we consider to bring that number to the 1.6. And then on the expense side, we take in all expenses, salaries, benefits, electricity for the Welcome Center, depreciation, the total lots, POA lot taxes, public works oversight for ACC, and then that's how you get the net marketing revenue of 1.3. Looking for the rest of the year, some of the outlooks. Discovery tour and Welcome Center visits, discovery requests are up 4%, but completed tours and visits are down roughly 2 to 3%. Some of that is, gas prices, just what's going on with the economy. A lot of it even has to do with weather. We've had quite a bit of rain and hot days, and believe it or not, people don't want to come visit when it's like that. They try to move their date out a little bit. So we do feel like we are going to make up that ground in the fall, which is one of our busier seasons. Other favorable other favorable first half factors is average time on market is 22 days versus 19 days last year. Home sales pending is 52 versus 45, and residential inventory is at 81 versus 15 a year ago. So there's a lot more homes on the market now than previous. All these suggest a strong performance, at least in the short term. The total program leads generated are down about 8%. Some factors that we kind of had to take into consideration was COVID trade shows, which brought in a lot of leads, but they were bad quality, and we didn't have that this year, as well as the where to retire leads. They're unqualified leads, so we did not add those to the database and in our numbers this year. That still sends a decline for web leads are down 3%, but our digital program leads are actually up 4%. Some of our partner website traffic is down, magazine leads are down, and some of that is due to just magazines that are no longer being printed or went out of business due to the market. And then other leads represent about 16%, and this is consistent with a softening national market. Some other actions that have been taken to look at our performance as we go throughout the rest of the year is we wanted to confirm our brand strategy, make sure that the message that we're sending out is still accurate. It's pretty much been the same since 2012 when the marketing program was put together. And we verified this with 2 additional surveys. One went out to village residents in June and another one to tour guides and realtors in July. We also Fred did an analysis on the baby boomer, and also Generation Jones, which is kind of a new generation that we've kind of been brought to our attention, and you guys are going to learn more about that next month, and also Generation X. All conform Tellico Village positioning and pillars of brand strategy are still on target, an ideal location, outstanding amenities, exceptional lifestyle, and unsurpassed value. This analysis was presented to long-range planning. Also, we maximize our digital paid search efficiency. And if you look at efficiencies year over year, we're right on target. We reallocated monies from GDN to PPC, which was a good move on our part. We also improved our digital non-paid conversions for organic search optimization. We redefined some of the back end of the website, and that's actually proven to be working. We saw an over 50% conversion just in July, so we're very promise that that's going to continue for the rest of the year. We also expanded our national PR focus. We've completed our first year with Fletcher PR. PR is cumulative and depends on an evolving relationship with editors, reporters, and bloggers. We've doubled our coverage over last year with 28 additional placements. We've had pickups from Yahoo Finance, Associated Press, MarketWatch, Newsbreak, to name a few. And we've hosted 2 different travel writers, Travel Awaits, as well as 2 golf bloggers so far this year. Some caveats that we want to mention are the marketing budget adjusted for inflation. This is something we've never really talked about, although inflation happens year after year. Since 2016, the marketing budget has always been $405,000. But the purchasing power, if you look at 2015, was only $294,000, and this effectively represents a decrease of $110,000 for this period. As such, increases in program sufficiency may no longer be sufficient to offset this inflation. And then Fred put together the slide showing the budget allocation, adjustments for inflation, and then what the inflation rate has been historically since 2016 until where we are today. Some conclusions. Following 2 years of strong growth, the national housing market declined during the first half of 2022. Single-family existing home sales and new build starts have both dramatically slowed. Negative GDP growth, soaring inflation, Fed interest rate hikes, mortgage rates all play a part in that. To date, Tellico Village real estate market has performed well in this challenging environment. Existing home sales are up modestly, return to a more normal growth rate, which is declining, lots tells us that, and major ROI in terms of both increased property values as well as incremental net POA revenue. It is anticipated that the strong existing village home sales price performance will continue at least in the short term. Discovery requests and visits and traffic, they remain strong. Time on market, pending home sales, inventory levels are still favorable. Significant actions have been taken to improve efficiency in the program moving forward through the remainder of the year. A strong marketing program will be required to stabilize Tellico Village's 2023 existing home sales and property values. Economic forecasts are increasingly negative and related to length and the depth of the recession and its impact on the housing market. This is also complicated by a cumulative impact of inflation, which has significantly reduced the purchase power of the current marketing budget. And this is our 10th year anniversary of the marketing program, and we thought what better way to remind villagers, as good old George said, those who cannot remember the past are doomed to repeat it, and we do not want that to happen in Tellico Village. And so, some background. In 2006, there was a collapse of the national housing market, was the principal cause of the Great Recession. By 2011, Tellico Village housing market had imploded. Sales of existing homes had declined 60%. Average time on market had stretched to 8 months if the house could even sold. Most houses were just removed from the market at that time. And property values have plummeted, declining each of the last 5 years. In 2012, the POA Board approved the development of a Tellico Village marketing program. And that objective, from the beginning and still today, is to build awareness of Tellico Village's brand, its unique appeals and benefits among national, regional, and local target audiences in order to influence the sale of Tellico Village homes and lots to strengthen property values. That has always been why we have a marketing program, and that benefits all property owners. Some of the results that we want to highlight from the last 10 years is MLS existing home sales, which totaled 323 during 2021, or 3.7 times the performance of 2011. Marketing program sales, 2/3 of the 21 and 22 MLS existing home sales are a result of marketing program leads. Time on market, currently 22 days versus 8 months in 2011. Current average per square foot of $248 versus $121 in 2013. That's over a 100% increase. Okay. About to read it again, Mitt, sorry. Individual property owner ROI, in the 10-year increase, equity averages $325,000 for every Tellico Village home. That's why we have a marketing program. 10-year incremental and total village equity equals $1.7 billion. And during the last 18 months, marketing program has returned an incremental net revenue to POA totaling over $3.7 million. Ongoing assessment revenue over the sale of 800 POA lots represents in 2023 an ongoing and annual revenue of $1.7 million per year. Current economic and national housing market news brings to mind the bad old days of the Great Recession. This time, however, a proven successful marketing program is in place to support Tellico Village residential sales and property values. This 10-year anniversary provides a timely reminder of marketing's importance, not just in the past, but also to the future of Tellico Village real estate market. Questions? None? Thank you.
One question. On the property value increase, 100% increase, how much of that is national versus the incremental piece that marketing adds here?
Oh, we did that before. Do you remember? Unfortunately, Fred's not here, and he has all the numbers. I'll email it to you. Yeah.
Because it's not 100%. You've added incrementally on what the national average has been.
Yeah, and we've done some good research, and, you know, John's been a part of that, where we look at, you know, what Knoxville and the area is doing versus what we're doing.
Yeah, I've seen it before.
Yeah. We'll get that for you.
Okay.
Pat, is there anything online? Because I'm not sitting over at my computer.
No, it got kind of quiet, and so did I. I apologize.
All right. Any
No,
other
there's nothing.
questions, comments? All right, thanks,
All right,
Beth.
thank you.
That brings us to the other section. Anybody have another item from the board? Seeing none? Anybody from the crowd? No? Okay. I'd say we're done.
No, they've all been, all been answered.
Thanks, Beth. That's how I found my home.
Yeah.
All right. Meeting adjourned.
Actually.